The galaxy was filled with life. Across countless worlds, great empires rose and fell. Races traded, fought, and explored the endless sea of stars. Yet among all the civilizations, there was always one mystery that stirred both awe and unease. It was the story of humanity. Long ago, before even the eldest empires reached their peak, humans had walked among the stars. Records in ancient archives described them as dreamers and builders, a species who spread further and faster than any other. They were not the strongest nor the oldest, but they had a way of shaping destiny itself. They were known for daring choices, strange inventions, and the will to stand where others faltered. Then, without warning, they were gone. 40,000 years passed since the last human voice was heard. No wreckage of their fleets was found. No ruins of their colonies were discovered. Their homeworld, wherever it might have been, was lost to time. Some scholars claimed humans never existed at all, that the records were myths crafted by early empires. Others whispered that humanity had found something beyond the stars, something so vast that it pulled them away forever. Whatever the truth, their silence grew heavier with each passing millennium. Among the younger races, the story of humanity became a legend told to children. They were spoken of as phantoms who had once shaped the galaxy but left no trace. Among the elder races, however, the memory remained sharper. The Terran archivists described humans as restless explorers who carried ideas like fire. The Solvar diplomats called them dangerous because their words could unite rivals into allies. And the Zarathi warlords spoke of them with a kind of respect, for humans had faced them in battle and had not yielded. Yet in the end, no matter the opinion, the fact remained the same. Humanity was silent. That silence ended one quiet cycle at the edge of the Perseus arm. A signal appeared, faint at first, then steady. It did not match any known code. It pulsed like a heartbeat, slow and deliberate. At first, many dismissed it as natural noise from a collapsing star or the echo of a dying pulsar. But when probes were sent, the truth shook the observers. The signal was artificial. The source came from a vessel adrift in the void. Its size dwarfed even the largest carriers of the modern age. Its hull was scarred and dark, as if it had crossed not only the galaxy but something far stranger. It had no flag, no markings, no trace of any known empire, yet its design was unmistakable to those who studied the old records. It was human. The news spread quickly across the stars. Fleets from different empires rushed to the site. Some arrived seeking knowledge, some seeking power, and some only out of fear. They formed a loose blockade around the silent giant, watching, waiting, none daring to act first. The vessel did not move. Its systems appeared dormant, though faint energy signatures pulsed from deep within like the breath of a sleeping beast. Attempts to scan the interior failed. Every probe that entered simply vanished. It was as if the ship itself swallowed them whole. In the Council of Stars, arguments filled the chamber. The Solvar envoys called for its destruction, fearing it was a weapon too dangerous to be left alone. The Terran archivists demanded preservation, insisting it was the greatest historical discovery of the era. The Zarathi warlords wished to claim it, believing its strength could make them supreme. But none could agree, for none wished to be the first to strike at the unknown. The whispers began then. Across markets, ports, and even within military halls, voices spoke of the same thing. Humanity had returned. The legends said they would come back when the galaxy least expected them. The vessel became known as the Phantom, a ghost of a people long forgotten yet never erased. As the fleet circled the silent ship, tension grew. Days stretched into weeks, and still the vessel remained unmoved. Patrols reported strange readings from their sensors. Some claimed to see shadows flicker across the hull, as if figures walked where no air or light could exist. Others swore they heard faint voices in unknown tongues. No evidence was ever recorded, yet the stories spread faster than truth. For many, it was only a matter of time before something happened. A ship that survived 40,000 years in the dark was no simple relic. It was waiting, watching, breathing. The galaxy could not know if this was a return of allies or the awakening of something far beyond them, and so the question grew heavy in the hearts of all who gazed upon it. After 40,000 years of silence, why had humanity returned now? The phantom vessel drifted without a sound. Its black surface reflected no light, making it appear almost invisible against the endless stars. The fleets that surrounded it kept their distance, careful not to provoke what they did not understand. Yet no one could look away from it. Even the bravest commanders admitted a strange feeling when their ships drew near, as if the vessel itself was aware of them. For days, the gathered empires tried to study the ship. The Solver sent probes armed with sensors far more advanced than any other race. Each probe entered the dark hull and never returned. The Terran archivists tried a different method. They transmitted fragments of ancient human songs and messages, hoping to awaken some response. There was none. The Zorathi warlords, impatient as always, prepared weapons and demanded permission to fire. But the Council of Stars ordered them to wait. Despite all efforts, the ship remained a mystery. No one could tell if it was abandoned or if something still lived inside. The energy readings were faint yet constant, as if the vessel was alive but only half awake. Some believed it was a derelict, drifting for ages until chance brought it back into known space. Others were certain it had returned with purpose. Then came the first sign of change. On the 12th day, as fleets maintained their careful watch, the surface of the Phantom began to glow with soft lines of light. At first, the glow was faint, like embers in the dark. Slowly, it spread across the vast hull, forming patterns too complex to be random. Each empire rushed to record the display, but none could decode its meaning. To some, it looked like constellations, to others a map. To the Terran archivists, it resembled the scripts found in the oldest human records. The sudden awakening caused panic. Smaller fleets pulled back, fearful of a hidden weapon. The Solver demanded immediate attack before the vessel could activate further. The Zorathi prepared their warships eagerly, believing battle was near. Yet before any decision could be made, the vessel acted again. A pulse of energy rippled out from the Phantom, expanding like a wave across the stars. Every ship in range trembled as systems flickered. Engines stalled, weapons shut down, and communications went silent. For a moment, the fleets were blind and powerless. Many feared this was the end. But then, just as suddenly, the systems came back online. No damage was done. No lives were lost. The pulse was not an attack. It was a message. In that brief silence, every crew reported the same thing. They felt as if a presence touched their minds. Not words, not images, but a sense of being watched and measured. The sensation passed quickly, yet it left entire fleets shaken. From that moment, fear turned to awe. The Phantom was not a ruin. It was awake. The Council of Stars held emergency meetings. The archivists urged patience, convinced the vessel was trying to communicate. The Solvar argued with greater urgency, demanding to destroy the ship before it revealed greater powers. The Zorathi saw opportunity, pressing for a joint assault to claim it as a prize. But while the leaders debated, the vessel itself continued its slow awakening. Over the next cycles, the light across its hull grew brighter. Strange symbols pulsed in rhythm with the same heartbeat-like signal first detected. Observers noted that the vessel's position shifted slightly. It was no longer drifting aimlessly. It was holding itself steady against the pull of nearby stars, as if preparing for something. Inside the fleets, tension grew heavier. Pilots whispered that they saw shapes moving across the glowing hull. Engineers swore their instruments detected faint voices within the static of their systems. Captains reported dreams of endless corridors and doors that opened into blinding light. None of these stories could be confirmed, but the more they spread, the more certain crews became that something lived within the Phantom. When the 20th day came, the waiting ended. Without warning, a great seam opened along the side of the vessel. Light poured out like a sunrise across the void. From within, vast structures moved, unfolding like wings. The fleets prepared for battle, weapons locked and ready. Yet no fire came. Instead, the vessel released smaller crafts, smooth and silent, gliding through space with perfect formation. The sight left all watching in silence. The crafts did not carry weapons or shields, but their design was unlike anything seen in the galaxy. They moved with elegance and purpose, circling the fleets as if studying them in return. None dared to fire, for even the Zorathi sensed that to strike would invite doom. Then one of the smaller crafts approached the nearest observation ship, a Terran vessel. Instead of hostility, it transmitted a signal. Not in Solvar code, not in Zorathi language, but in a voice that had not been heard in 40,000 years. It spoke in human tongue. The words were clear, calm, and carried across every channel. "We have returned." The declaration froze the galaxy. Humanity, the forgotten race, was no longer silent. The Phantom vessel had not come as a ruin of the past, but as a messenger of the present. Its shadow stretched across the stars, and none could guess what would come next. The words echoed across every fleet in orbit. "We have returned." Simple words, but they carried the weight of 40,000 years of silence. Crews froze at their stations. Commanders stared at their screens as if afraid to blink. Entire councils paused their endless arguments to listen. For a moment, there was no sound in the galaxy except the message of the phantom vessel. The smaller crafts continued to circle the fleets, their movements precise and calm. They did not fire, they did not demand, they only observed. Yet their very presence spoke of mastery. No empire had seen ships glide with such control. No technology in the known galaxy could compare. Inside the Council of Stars, voices rose in confusion. The Solver envoys called the message a trick, a false signal designed to sow fear. The Zarathi warlords demanded the crafts be captured to prove whether humans truly lived. The Terran archivists, however, felt their hearts tremble with hope. They had studied human records for centuries, and they recognized the tone. It was not the cold voice of a machine. It was human. Then the phantom vessel acted once more. A vast door opened near the front of the ship, and light poured into the dark of space. Out of the light came figures. They stood upon a platform that extended from the ship's hull, visible to all scanners. They were tall, clad in suits that shimmered like liquid metal. Their faces were covered, but their movements were unmistakable. They walked as humans once walked. The fleets watched in silence as one of the figures stepped forward. With a simple gesture, the smaller crafts halted in perfect unison. Another gesture, and a signal was sent across every channel again. This time it was not only sound, but also image. Every ship saw the same vision. The figure removed its helmet. The face revealed was human. The skin was pale from long stasis, the eyes deep with memory, and the expression calm yet firm. No alien in the fleets doubted what they saw. It was not a copy. It was not an imitation. Humanity was alive. The voice of the human filled every bridge. "We are the children of Earth. We left long ago, but we did not die. We walked where no others dared to walk. We fought where no others wished to stand. Now we return not as conquerors, but as witnesses." The words carried strange power. Even the Zarathi warlords, who respected only strength, held back their rage. The Solver envoys hesitated, sensing the risk of hasty judgment. The Terran archivists felt tears in their eyes, for they had dreamed of this moment their whole lives. But questions filled every mind. Why had humanity left? What battles had they fought? And why had they returned now? The humans seemed to sense these questions. 40,000 years we traveled beyond the rim of this galaxy. We saw the dark between stars. We met the silence that hung beyond creation. We faced beings that were not like you, nor like us. We endured. Some of us fell, but we endured. This vessel is not a weapon. It is memory. It is warning. And it is hope. The fleets exchanged uneasy glances. A warning. Against what? The human raised a hand. At once, the stars around the fleets shifted on every screen. The vessel was projecting images into their systems. They saw visions of vast black forms moving through empty space, larger than fleets, older than time. They saw galaxies swallowed in shadow. They saw civilizations erased without a trace. The vision ended as suddenly as it began. Silence returned, heavier than before. The human spoke again. "We did not return to rule. We returned to prepare. The dark we fought still moves. It will come here. And when it does, only unity will stand against it. You may see us as strangers, but we are kin of the same universe. Stand with us or fall alone." The message shook the gathered empires. For some, it was hope. For others, it was fear. The Solvar envoys whispered that it was a trick to gather power. The Zarathi admired the boldness, yet doubted the threat. The Terran archivists believed every word. Yet while leaders argued, the fleets themselves felt something different. The crews who looked into the eyes of the awakened human sensed no deception. There was no hunger for conquest. There was only the weight of experience of a people who had faced storms beyond imagination and returned to warn others. The human ended with one final sentence. "We are awake, and soon you must be awake as well." The signal cut. The figures withdrew into the light of the phantom vessel. The door closed and silence returned once more. But nothing was the same. The fleets remained in orbit, but now none could leave. Curiosity held them. Fear chained them. Hope stirred in them. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy could not turn away. In quiet corners of the council, whispers began to grow louder. If the humans spoke truth, then all empires would need to stand together. Yet unity was rare in the galaxy. Some would seek alliance, some would seek control, and some would seek to destroy what they could not understand. The phantom vessel waited silent once more. Inside, the humans stirred from their long sleep. The first awakening was only the beginning. The galaxy held its breath. The phantom vessel floated like a giant shadow among the fleets, its surface glowing faintly with the strange symbols of old. The humans who had appeared gave their warning, then returned inside, leaving more questions than answers. No ship dared to move closer, yet none dared to leave either. Inside the Council of Stars, tension was at its highest. Leaders of every empire gathered through holographic projection, their voices sharp with doubt. The Solver envoys argued that the humans spoke only to frighten the galaxy into obedience. The Zarathi warlords claimed the humans were strong, but strength could still be broken. The Terran archivists, however, stood firm in their belief that the message was true. They had studied human history longer than anyone else, and they knew the humans never wasted words. The debate lasted for hours, but no decision was reached. At last, silence fell when the phantom vessel acted again. A vast signal spread outward from the ship, far beyond the fleets, far beyond the star system itself. Every beacon, every relay, every listening post across the galaxy received the same broadcast. For the first time in 40,000 years, humanity spoke not to one world, not to one council, but to all. The message began with the image of the human who had revealed his face before. His expression was calm, his voice steady, carrying a weight that silenced even the most doubtful. We are the children of Earth. We left to face what you could not see. We fought in the dark beyond the rim. We returned not to rule but to speak. Across distant colonies, miners paused their work to watch. On trading stations, merchants gathered around holoscreens. On warships deep in the void, soldiers listened in silence. The galaxy itself became an audience. The human raised his hand, and once again visions filled every screen. They showed stars consumed by shadow. Worlds crumbled into silence. Entire civilizations erased as if they had never existed. Then came the image of great shapes moving in the dark, their forms shifting like storms made of night. No weapons harmed them, no walls stopped them. They were not conquerors, but erasers. The human's voice continued. This is what waits beyond the rim. For ages we fought to hold them back. We endured losses beyond counting. But they are not gone. They move still. And when they come, they will not see borders or empires. They will see only life, and they will end it. The vision ended, leaving only the human's face. His eyes were steady, as if he carried the weight of endless battles. This vessel is not our strength. It is our memory. It carries what we learned, what we lost, and what we must teach. Alone, no empire can resist what comes. Together, perhaps we can stand. The message spread to every corner of the galaxy. Some listened with hope, some with disbelief, and some with fear. On the frozen worlds of the Solvar, leaders ordered their scientists to study the broadcast for deception. Among the Zarathi, warlords debated whether humanity spoke truth or simply showed illusions. On the worlds of the Terran, however, people filled the streets in silence, watching with awe. They believed, and they were not alone. Back near the phantom vessel, fleets remained locked in place. No ship dared to attack, not after the humans had shown power without violence. The pulse that had disabled entire armadas without harm still weighed on every commander's mind. If humans wished, they could have destroyed them all. Instead, they had spoken with restraint. That choice carried more weight than any weapon, yet fear did not vanish. Secret councils met in hidden chambers. Some leaders whispered that if humanity truly returned with such power, then no empire could ever rival them. Better to strike first, they said, before the humans awakened fully. Others argued that unity was the only answer. The galaxy had fought countless wars, but none against an enemy that could erase existence itself. Meanwhile, inside the phantom vessel, the awakening continued. More humans stirred from their long sleep. Their faces carried the same calm strength as the first. They spoke little, but their presence alone filled the air with quiet power. They were not many compared to the fleets outside, yet it was clear they were far from weak. The message of the humans did not end with warning. Before the broadcast closed, the human commander spoke one final time. His words were simple, but they carried across the stars with the weight of prophecy. Stand with us, and together we may endure. Stand apart, and all will fall. Then the broadcast ended. The stars returned to silence. But the silence was not the same. It was heavier, as if the entire galaxy now carried the burden of the message. On distant worlds, ordinary people whispered to each other. Could humanity truly be saviors, or had they brought with them a danger greater than any before? In the halls of power, leaders argued. In the fleets surrounding the Phantom, soldiers stared at their screens, their hearts caught between fear and hope. The Phantom vessel waited. Its lights pulsed slowly like a heartbeat, as if it listened to the galaxy's response. The humans had spoken their message to the stars. Now the stars had to decide how to answer. The broadcast of the humans spread through every world, every fleet, and every station in the galaxy. For many, it was a moment of wonder. A race-long thought gone had returned, carrying warnings from beyond the rim of known space. Yet for others, it was a moment of dread. The words of the human commander were clear. Only unity could save the galaxy from the coming dark. But unity was rare in the galaxy, and fear grew faster than hope. In the halls of power, the first cracks appeared. The Solver Council met in secret chambers, far from the ears of their people. The elders spoke with sharp voices, their faces grim. Some argued the humans had shown only illusions to frighten the galaxy. Others admitted the visions might be true, but insisted that the humans revealed them only to gain control. One voice rose louder than the rest. It warned that if humanity carried knowledge and technology beyond the reach of all others, then soon every empire would bow before them. To prevent that, the Solvar must act before the humans grew stronger. On the burning worlds of the Zorathi, the warlords gathered in their circle of flame. They respected the strength of the humans, but strength alone was not enough to earn their trust. Some warlords admired the calm restraint of the Phantom vessel, yet others believed it was only a trap. If the humans carried weapons that could disable entire fleets without a single shot, then they were too dangerous to leave unchecked. The Zorathi did not fear battle, but they feared chains, and so, many of them spoke of striking the vessel first, even if it meant risking war with every other empire. The Terran archivists reacted differently. On their homeworlds, ancient halls filled with light as records of humanity were brought out once more. The archivists saw the broadcast not as a threat, but as proof of everything they had studied. Humanity had never vanished. They had chosen a path no one else could take, and they had returned to share what they had learned. The archivists urged peace, urging the galaxy to listen before acting. Yet their voices were often drowned by fear. Among ordinary citizens across countless planets, rumors spread faster than truth. Some whispered that the humans carried weapons that could shatter suns. Others claimed the humans were no longer truly alive, that they were phantoms wearing human faces. Merchants feared trade would collapse if empires turned to war. Soldiers feared orders that would pit them against a power beyond their reach. Children listened to old legends of humanity with new eyes, wondering if the stories were about to come alive. Meanwhile, the fleets surrounding the Phantom vessel remained frozen in uneasy watch. The ship did not move. Its lights pulsed slowly, steady as a heartbeat. The smaller craft still drifted in silent formation. The humans inside gave no further message, as if waiting for the galaxy to decide its course. But the waiting only deepened the fear. Tension reached its height when a Solver ship tried to test the vessel again. Against orders, it launched a hidden probe toward the Phantom's hull. The probe was cloaked, its signal masked, its engines silent. Yet before it touched the ship, it vanished. No explosion, no spark of light. It was simply gone. The fleets panicked. Alarms rang across warships, weapons came online, and shields flared. For a moment, it seemed battle was certain, but the Phantom did not fire. The vessel remained still, its lights pulsing without change. Slowly, the fleets lowered their weapons, uneasy but unwilling to begin the fight. The Council of Stars called for calm, but trust was fading. Whispers of alliances formed in the shadows. Solvar envoys met with Zorathi warlords in quiet chambers, discussing secret plans. If they struck together, they might overwhelm even the Phantom vessel. They spoke of seizing the humans, forcing them to share their knowledge and using their power for themselves. At the same time, other voices rose. The Terran archivists sent pleas across the stars, urging the empires to resist fear. They reminded all that the humans had shown mercy when they could have destroyed. They argued that no empire could stand alone if the dark threat was real. Their words reached many hearts, but fear often spoke louder than wisdom. On distant worlds, ordinary people began to choose their sides. Some prayed for the humans to lead them, believing they were the only hope against the shadow. Others prepared for war, certain that humanity's return would bring nothing but conflict. Inside the phantom vessel, the humans stirred quietly. More figures awoke from their long sleep, their faces calm, their eyes filled with memory. They spoke among themselves in voices unheard by the fleets outside. The galaxy debated, feared, and argued, but the humans did not rush. They waited as if they had already seen this moment in countless forms before. The silence of the vessel was not weakness. It was patience, yet patience could not last forever. The fear among empires was reaching its peak. The question was no longer if someone would act, but when. And when the first strike came, the galaxy would learn the truth of humanity's return. Tension filled the void around the phantom vessel. Every fleet remained in position, weapons ready, shields raised, and sensors scanning for any sign of attack. Every captain knew that one mistake could ignite a war no one could survive. Yet the humans inside the vessel did not act. They moved with calm precision, as if the galaxy itself were a puzzle waiting to be solved. The first test came without warning. A coalition of Zorathi and Solvar warships launched a coordinated strike. The fleet moved in perfect formation, aiming missiles, energy beams, and pulse cannons at the phantom vessel. Their leaders believed this was the only way to end the uncertainty. If the humans were weak, the attack would destroy them. If they were strong, at least the fleets would show courage in facing the unknown. But the Phantom responded in a way no one expected. As the first missile approached, the vessel's shields flared with light, absorbing the attack without a single scratch. Energy beams bent and dispersed before reaching the hull. Every weapon in the coalition fleet failed as if the vessel had absorbed their power and returned it harmlessly to space. Panic spread through the ranks. Ships attempted to retreat, but the humans' control over the battlefield seemed to extend beyond the vessel itself. Engines faltered, communications flickered, and weapons went offline. No one could explain it. From the open platforms of the Phantom, figures appeared. They moved smoothly, their steps silent and confident. The humans did not fire weapons, did not attack. Instead, they extended their hands in a gesture of calm authority. Yet the effect was clear. The attacking fleet stopped, frozen in place as if their minds were touched by the presence of the humans. The human commander spoke across every channel in perfect clarity. "Cease your attack. You cannot harm this vessel. You can only harm yourselves if you continue. We do not come as conquerors. We come as guardians. Understand, and you may survive what comes." The fleet commander struggled to respond. Some wanted to continue the attack, driven by fear and pride. Others realized that the humans had not only blocked their weapons, but had also shown restraint. No damage had been done. No life had been taken. It was not power used to destroy, but power used to test. The coalition fleet hesitated. Arguments broke out among their leaders. Should they risk defiance or accept the warning? The humans waited patiently, their presence alone a challenge. Then, one young Zorathi captain made a choice. Instead of firing again, he lowered his shields and opened communications. "We wish to listen," he said. His voice trembled, but it carried honesty. Other ships followed his lead. Slowly, the tension in the fleet eased, replaced by cautious attention. The human commander responded immediately. "Good. This is the first step. You have seen our restraint. You have felt our control. This is how the galaxy must stand against what is coming. Violence alone will not win. Cooperation will. Fear will destroy you faster than any enemy." Across the fleets, a new understanding began to form. Soldiers who had once been ready to fire now lowered their weapons. Engineers who had prepared for sabotage watched with curiosity instead of panic. Even the warlords felt a strange respect, knowing that the humans had demonstrated strength beyond any weapon, but had chosen mercy over destruction. The humans then projected images across the fleets once more. They showed the same dark forces from the outer rim, the shapes that consumed stars and erased worlds. This time, however, they also showed alliances of civilizations standing together, fleets united in purpose, and planets working in harmony. The contrast was clear. Alone, the galaxy would fall. Together, it could survive. The coalition realized the test was more than a demonstration of power. It was a test of resolve, of wisdom, of courage. Those who chose fear were frozen, unable to act. Those who chose cooperation saw the path forward. Even in the Council of Stars, voices shifted. Some leaders still whispered about striking the humans, but their confidence had weakened. The evidence was clear. Humanity had the power to destroy fleets, but they had chosen to use it only as a lesson. The phantom vessel was not an enemy. It was a teacher. Inside the vessel, more humans awoke from stasis. Their faces were calm, but their eyes showed determination. They moved among the corridors and bridges of the ship, preparing for what was coming. They did not speak loudly, but their presence carried assurance. The galaxy would know fear, but it would also know guidance. The lesson of the first test spread quickly. Fleets returned to patrol with caution. Councils debated with new respect, and ordinary citizens watched events unfold with awe. Humanity had shown that true strength was not in domination, but in restraint and control. That lesson would resonate across the stars. As the phantom vessel pulsed quietly in the void, it seemed almost to breathe. The humans had returned to the galaxy not to conquer, but to awaken it. Their patience and restraint were a warning, a promise, and a challenge all at once. Those who understood would follow. Those who ignored it might perish. The test of resolve was complete, and the galaxy had felt the power of humanity without a single weapon fired. Yet the humans knew this was only the beginning. The darkness beyond the rim had not waited. Time was short. Preparation, unity, and courage would be required in the days to come. And so the fleets watched, the councils debated, and the phantom vessel waited. The humans had proven their strength and their mercy. Now the galaxy had to choose whether it would rise to meet the coming challenge. The galaxy was quiet, yet it was a quiet filled with tension and hope. After the test of resolve, no empire dared to attack the phantom vessel. The humans had shown their strength, their restraint, and their wisdom. Now all eyes turned to the question of the future. Would the galaxy unite, or would fear tear it apart before the coming storm? On the Terran homeworld, councils and citizens alike studied the events. Archivists spoke with urgency, reminding the leaders that humanity's return was a rare opportunity. They had faced darkness alone and survived. Their message was clear. Unity was the only way to survive what lay ahead. Citizens listened, their hearts stirring with belief. For the first time in thousands of years, the legend of humanity felt real. Across the Solvar territories, the debate continued. Some still doubted the humans, thinking the phantom vessel's display might be a trick. Yet even the most skeptical commanders admitted the power they had seen. Missiles and energy weapons had been rendered useless without a single strike. Entire fleets had been stopped by presence and authority alone. Fear slowly turned to respect, and respect became the first step toward trust. The Zarathi warlords gathered in their volcanic halls. They had lived by strength for generations, but even they could not ignore the display. The humans had not sought domination. They had tested courage, patience, and wisdom. The warlords realized that if the dark forces beyond the rim were real, only a united galaxy could hope to withstand them. The old rivalries did not vanish overnight, but the seeds of cooperation were planted. Meanwhile, the phantom vessel continued to hover in space. Its lights pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and calm. Smaller crafts moved in formation, surveying the fleets, the planets, and the stars beyond. Inside, the humans moved with purpose, speaking quietly among themselves, preparing for what would come next. They had returned not for glory, not for conquest, but to guide, to awaken, and to prepare. Then, the first contact of unity occurred. A fleet from the Terran homeworld opened a direct communication channel with the phantom vessel. The human commander answered immediately. "We have watched your fleets and listened to your counsels," he said. "Now it is time to act together. If you choose cooperation, we can share knowledge and strategy. If you choose fear, you will face the consequences alone." The Terran leaders relayed the message to the other empires. Slowly, the Solvar and Zarathi commanders agreed to join a council. Messages traveled across the galaxy, and for the first time in millennia, distant worlds began to speak to each other not as rivals, but as allies. Small steps at first, cautious and measured, yet each one carried hope. Across countless planets, ordinary citizens felt the change. Children learned that the legends of humanity were no longer myths. Traders and travelers spoke of hope rather than fear. Soldiers of old empires trained not only for battle but for cooperation. The galaxy had waited 40,000 years for this moment, and it was finally beginning. Inside the phantom vessel, humans prepared further. They shared knowledge with the fleets that approached, teaching about energy control, navigation, and strategies to survive the darkness beyond the rim. They did not hand out power to dominate others. Instead, they offered guidance, training, and understanding. Every interaction strengthened the bonds forming across the galaxy. The first joint exercises were small but significant. Solvar Zarathi and Terran ships coordinated for the first time in history. Energy shields aligned, communications synced, and patrols moved as one. It was not perfect, but it was a start. The humans watched and offered advice, their presence steady and calm. The galaxy began to see that cooperation, not conquest, would determine survival. Weeks passed and the unity grew stronger. Old rivalries faded when faced with a common purpose. Trade resumed, research accelerated, and fleets practiced together. The phantom vessel remained at the edge of known space, a symbol of humanity's return and the hope it brought. It did not dominate, it guided. It did not command, it taught. Finally, the human commander addressed the galaxy one last time. His voice carried across all channels, calm yet powerful. 40,000 years ago, we fell silent to prepare. Now we have returned to share what we learned. The darkness approaches, but together you are strong. Remember this. Unity is life and division is death. Stand together and the galaxy will endure. The words echoed across every planet, every ship, every listening ear. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy felt connected. Humans had returned not as rulers, not as conquerors, but as guides. Their patience, wisdom, and restraint had awakened hope and courage. The legends had come alive, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the phantom vessel pulsed silently in the void, fleets prepared for the challenges ahead. Leaders who once argued now worked together. Citizens who once feared now believed. Humanity's return had broken the silence of 40,000 years, and in its place a new dawn began. The galaxy stood ready, united at last. And in the distance, beyond known stars, the darkness waited. But now it would face a galaxy prepared, guided by the children of Earth who had returned from the edge of time to light the way.